My name's Elizabeth Swift. I'm 39 years old. I was originally from Nottingham. I was actually working in a job. I had a good job, a permanent job, but I wasn't enjoying it. There was a recession on at the time, and because so many other companies were laying people off, I daren't take the risk of moving to a job that I'd enjoy within England. So I stayed for a bit longer and a bit longer. They were laying people off. I was getting more and more work all the time, having to work longer hours, no more money. And it got to the stage when this was just getting ridiculous. I had to think, what can I do? And I was talking to people and said, well, why don't you become a teacher? I looked into doing a CELTA course. So I did the course in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, and loved it. One very surprising thing about teaching is the children. I grew up as an only child. We didn't have any relatives where we lived, so I never grew up with my cousins, my nieces and my nephews. When I started teaching, I was teaching very young children, and I absolutely love teaching young children. It's so rewarding. You take a child who is about 4.5 years old, never spoken a word of English in their life, and at the end of the 3 months later, they're speaking small sentences. It is so rewarding. I don't have any regrets about moving away from England. When I was in England, every time you went out with people, there was always at least one person who had just been made redundant. There was another person who had been redundant for quite some time. The best thing about living abroad is, well, there's a few things. There's experience a different culture, which I never would have done otherwise. And also the weather. I love the hot weather. When I first started teaching, I did at one point think, what have I done? Because I did this CELTA course, which qualifies you for teaching adults. And my very first teaching job was teaching children. When you teach adults, they do what you ask. If you say work in pairs, they work in pairs. If you ask them to discuss something, they discuss it. When suddenly you've got a class of 8 to 12-year-olds, they're not going to do that. You have to think of ways to make them do it. So my first few weeks, I was thinking, what have I done? One of the highs about being a teacher abroad is it is a very rewarding job. When you're working in an office in England, I was doing purchasing. Yeah, sure, you get contracts, you get cost savings, but over here you're actually adding to somebody's knowledge, and from that they could potentially get a better life, a better job, a better paid job, maybe travel abroad, which they would never be able to do if they didn't speak English.